Welcome to the High Impact Man podcast. High impact men from across the nation sharing their stories of inspiration, encouragement, and hope.
Gosh, seek transformational relationships.
What you're hearing from the culture is not right.
Pick up the six, you know what I mean? But you never know who your six sometimes is.
Stop being less.
To help others become the virtuous leaders they are called to be and that our nation desperately needs.
And here we go again with another episode of the High Impact Man podcast. Once again, we are traveling across the Atlantic Ocean to bring you a guest from the United Kingdom. Another recommendation from our man 88 out there in F3 Gold Rush. We've been communicating. I've been communicating with about 4 guys out there. We've already had Sticks on. And now we've got another guy, F3 Walter. His real name is Dan Winfield. He's 39 years old. He's current Nantan out in the F3 Surrey and Sussex regions of England. And we're going to talk to him about how he got started with F3 and his experience as a GTE trainer, etc., and just have him share his story with us. But before we do, I should probably introduce myself. If you don't know me, my name is Nevin Gorky. I'm known as Defib in the F3 world, and Troy Klinger joins me as always. His name is Dial-Up in the F3 world. And for those, I don't think we mentioned it yet, but Dial-Up and I are doing something at our church. I think I might have mentioned this last episode, called Fight Club. It's a ministry that's not specific to our church, but it's a men's ministry. It's a 10-week program. And you have to do certain things every week, scripture reading, verse memorization, relationship things. We're studying a book called some Fighting Shadows about for men's ministry, certain physical things, the workouts you got to do, and so forth. And we have we're broken up into accountability groups. Dial-Up and I are in accountability group with 2 other guys, and it's been really good because we're talking about we're going through the book, the Gospel of Mark and Proverbs. So a chapter each day in each of those, and we're talking about that, sharing our prayer requests and that kind of thing. So it's been really cool. Dial-Up, what do you think so far of Fight Club?
I've really enjoyed it. The discipline of just daily scripture reading, the daily checking in on each other, opening up and being honest about some things that we expect to be a challenge for us as far as the Fight Club guidelines. That gets kind of personal a little bit. So all of it, it's really a Christian-based F3 in a lot of ways. A lot of similarities across the board, but really enjoying it so far. So looking forward to, and it's just week 1. So I'm looking forward. We got 9 more weeks.
9 more weeks.
The unknown of what the challenges are each week is kind of what intrigued me a little bit about it, because it really tells you, like, hey, expect the unexpected. I don't know what it's going to do to make us uncomfortable and to stretch stretch us a little bit out of our comfort zone. So, we'll find out. Week 2 launches tonight, right? We get the challenges for next week.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
Week 1 so far so good. Unless I do something stupid tonight, I don't have any strikes. So
all right, I don't think I do yet either. Although I'm getting a strike next week. So
yes,
one of the things you have to do is all 10 weeks you can't touch any alcohol. And
pre-planned strike.
I usually don't drink alcohol much at all. I mean, we in our house rarely ever drink alcohol. But when we go on a cruise, which my wife and I are doing, leaving this Sunday, that'll be in 4 days from now. Well, the cruise is something different because we also got a suite this time. And along with that comes some free drinks here and there. And having a pina colada on the beach or poolside is kind of fun. So I got a special dispensation. Well, I don't know if it's special, but instead of a strike for every drink, they're giving me a strike for the week. So, and you get 3 strikes before you're out of the program. So I got, oh, and by the way, Salty sent the thing out today. He's leading the Fight Club, and he said that we could get a strike removed.
Yes.
Because and I know what he's talking about. Chapter 1 of the book talks about a solar eclipse, and I guess tonight there's a lunar eclipse at 2:30 on the eastern seaboard here in the United States. So,
but the problem is I don't think, can you go back if you haven't lost a strike yet? Can you gain one back?
Oh yeah, I'm -1
because you're not going to lose yours till next week.
I'll be -1. It's good in the bank.
You can't gain it. You can't gain the strike back if you haven't lost.
Well, I don't know about that. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Dial-Up.
Well, sorry to burst your bubble. But anyway,
right.
Back to our guest.
Yeah. So, Walter, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure. Now I got to ask you. I think you do, but do you know Styx, who we interviewed a couple episodes ago?
I do, Mr. JFDI. Yes, I know him very well. So.
All right. I had a feeling. 88 may have sent us the 4 recommendations, everybody from the same packs, maybe, but I don't know. But that's okay. That is just fine because there are more than one high impact man in every region. So we're happy to have you here, brother. So now this is the time where Dial-Up and I play guess how our guest got his F3 name. So Dial-Up has already confided in me he has no idea. Do you want me to go first, Dial-Up, or do you want to take a crack at this?
Go ahead. I'll see what you got.
All right. So I'm going one of 2 directions. All right. I'm not telling you to the end which way I'm going. So first of all, in F3 name Walter, that's just a normal guy name. So how do you get Walter, right? And since he's from England, there was Sir Walter Raleigh, that dude. So I don't think that's it though. Sir Walter Raleigh, what we know in America, Walter, about Sir Walter Raleigh is he laid his cloak down across a puddle so the queen could walk across or something like that. But I think he was an explorer, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think that's it. So, because I think if they were going to go with that, your name would have been Walter already, and they would have went with something else, like chivalry or I don't know. But anyway, the other way I'm going is there's a ventriloquist named Jeff Dunham, and he has a dummy called Walter. Well, Walter is a curmudgeon-y blonde dummy, or not blonde, bald dummy, and you don't look much like Walter, but maybe you're a ventriloquist. That's where I'm going with this.
Man, you are. I listened to the Styx episode, and yeah, you chaps are creative. I can neither confirm nor deny anything you've guessed so far until Dial-Up gives his.
Okay. Dial-Up, what are you going to say?
Didn't we have discussions about a ventriloquist or a dummy? Didn't someone get named after a dummy recently or something?
See, it vaguely sticks in my memory because I remember, they named you after a dummy or something like that. I don't think they actually named him after a dummy, but yeah.
All right, so you didn't by chance get named over in the States, did you?
I did not. I was named in Surrey in the UK.
Okay, that blows my theory. I was going to go with, I'm thinking of like Walter. And the Walter I went to is, I believe, the old man on Golden Pond. I'm dating myself. Defib hasn't even seen this movie. But in the movie on Golden Pond, the old man is Walter. And I thought maybe they went with, oh, you're from across the pond. And they went, oh, on Golden Pond. And then from that went to Walter, the old man in the movie. But
well, that is creative Dial-Up.
I think that I am way, way, way off. The only other Walter
both way off.
The only other Walter reference that pops in my head is oh my goodness, grumpy old men. They're always trying to catch the catfish in the lake, and they called him Walter.
Oh, and they Dial-Up, you're the closest with Walter on television or film. I'll give you that.
Oh, I'm on the right track. Well, I'll just finish and say the only other guess I had was Walter from Grumpy Old Men, the fish that they caught at the end, and they felt bad and they let Walter go. That's all I got. So sounds like I'm wrong, but I might be the closest.
Is this the part where I do the big reveal?
This is the big reveal.
Ta-da! Okay, close, but no cigar. So I work in the pharmaceutical industry, and upon telling the F3 brothers of the AO where I was born, the garden, that they decided that I would either be called Pablo Escobar or Walter White of Breaking Bad fame.
Oh.
And I'll make it clear at this point, I neither manufacture nor distribute crystal meth, but from this moment on, I was known as Walter. Which is actually, I get quite sniffy about this because my name should in fact be Heisenberg. Walter was the sort of kind of meek family man. Heisenberg was the drug lord. So yeah, whether I'm accurately named or not.
I've never watched Breaking Bad.
I've never watched Breaking Bad. Have you?
No, I haven't. I've never seen it. Well,
it's very good. I recommend it. So
a lot of people have watched it, so it must be worth seeing. But yeah, I'll add that to the list. Right now I'm watching Daredevil, the new season of Daredevil. I just finished Vikings on Netflix. So, and I'm also watching Reacher. Got to watch Reacher on Prime, by the way. All right. Yeah. So, Walter, why don't you tell us your F3 origin story? How long ago did you get started? Who EH'd you? How'd you get involved?
So, yeah. So I come into the story on 5th of January, 2022. I've got to do a maths conversion now. -5 degrees centigrade. What's that? 20. 20 Fahrenheit, something like that.
Something
Cold.
like that, yeah.
Minus 5 degrees Celsius, yeah, would be right, 20.
Yeah, so
here, if we keep doing these across the pond,
I know.
I have to think about this stuff. So yeah, so I come in on that date, but a couple of days before that, the 2nd of January, in fact, of that same year, is my wife's birthday, every year, and post-COVID. Carrying a little bit of timber and just a bit fed up of sort of meaningless exercise and workouts on my own, and I just said to my wife, to my M, because I'm not on Facebook, I'm one of those strange rare people. I said, would you just put a post out and see if anyone in the local area fancies getting together to run or do some other form of exercise? And no sooner had I said that did she find this mysterious looking post from this mysterious man called Duncan, who I latterly known as Safari. And it turns out that he was offering this free workout in a sort of car park area not too far from where I live. Turn up early in the morning, be given gloves, be given a coffee cup, and nothing more required. So chock full of suspicion, I did rock up in the frost. It was a dry day, but it was a very cold day. And not knowing what on earth was going on, there was me and 6 other individuals, FNGs, on that day. And I don't know what the hell happened for the preceding 45 minutes, but I knew I'd stumbled across something pretty major. And F3 in the UK had only really been going probably about 3 months before that. There was one AO prior, and the garden that day I turned up was the inaugural beatdown of what became the AO as the garden and where I come into it.
Nice. Yeah, Safari, he's like the father of F3 in all the United Kingdom, I think, right?
Like all virtuous leaders, he won't take a dollop of credit for it. But yeah, we're all indirectly related to him in terms of how we all got here. Even me speaking to you chaps today. So
yeah, hey, do me a favor and send me connect me with him on WhatsApp. We have to get him on the podcast.
Yeah,
of course,
yeah.
I could do that.
We had another Safari.
I was just gonna say the statement of for 45 minutes he didn't know it. He had no idea what was going on.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Don't know what happened.
I think you know it. I've always likened, and I've said this to many in FNG since. I think your first beatdown, I don't remember mine, but it's kind of like being born. I think you don't know where you are. You just there's lots of people doing lots of things around you, and it all feels very chaotic. But then afterwards comes the calm, I suppose. But I knew there was something pretty special that happened that morning. I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah, sweet. Well, I'm glad you stuck with it, man. We'll talk to you a little bit more about your experience with F3 and that kind of stuff. But let's roll back time here. Tell us what life was like for little Walter. Where'd you grow up? How was life?
Sure. Little Walter was, of course, down in those days. So yeah, I was born in the county of Essex, which I don't know how far the stigma carries around the world, but Essex is a county that is known for certain unique things and certain unique people. I would be discrediting them if I told you all the things that is. But you're welcome to Google Essex boys or Essex girls if you want to get some kind of bearing what I'm talking about.
I'm really curious now. You got to give us more than that because we have no idea.
Okay. Well, let's just say as a county, it's the kind of people there usually have very prominent tans, which didn't always come from the sun. The teeth are very white. Many of the gents there will sort of cruise around in vans, hanging out the window, making sort of gestures at poor, unsuspecting passing women. And it's all about partying, dancing around handbags. There's been shows made about this very thing. And there's an expression I must introduce you to. It's also true in South London, but you'll find it a lot in Essex, and that is geezer. So that is a common term of endearment of how two men in Essex might address one another. All right, geezer.
All right. Hold on. I gotta ask a couple questions here. First,
go for it.
Wait, time out. Can I go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I did Google, okay? Essex, UK, right? And one of the things it's like, what is the American equivalent in the US? And this is just going to answer it all, Defib. It's going to totally make sense, and you're going to be able to relate, because it says Essex is a bit like New Jersey.
All right.
Let me ask you one question, Walter. In Essex, do they not let you pump your own gas?
Well, actually, this is going to lead into my story. They do let you pump your own gas, and pumping gas is very, very common because cars are extremely popular as a way of driving around at 3 o'clock in the morning trying to impress the fairer sex.
Yeah, so this is what we call in America cruising. We used to cruise,
Yeah.
cruise the strip. Now, but I got to go back to the thing you said. You said dancing around handbags. What
Well,
the heck is that?
Not me personally, but let's just say ladies of a certain age might go to a big birthday party or something in like a community hall. And at some point in the evening, usually later on, when some alcohol is being consumed, high-heeled shoes will come off and handbags will be thrown down. And the handbag becomes a kind of inaugural prop to which the Macarena can be done, or indeed any other party dance you choose to mention, and it usually ends in tears about 3 o'clock in the morning, and the walk of shame and all of those things.
No, the walk of shame. I'm familiar with that term. Dancing around handbags. There's a new one. Dial-Up. Dancing around. Now, geezer. You guys call yourself geezer? For us, is just an old man.
Yeah, no, we'd probably recognise that as well, but it's someone that's on your level, probably does a manual job, honest, but you know, finds ways of making his own means, is as credible as I can make it sound. So,
all right, gotcha. All right, well, I'm glad we found. Oh, I do have another question. So, a little bit off topic, but Essex, was that previously Wessex? Because I don't see a Wessex on the map.
No. So Essex. So all of the counties, or the home counties, so surrounding London, basically are, you have Essex on the east, and you would have Wessex on the west.
Okay.
But just to confuse things more, I now live in the county of West Sussex. So the Sussex part is in the south, and there's an east and a west Sussex. So generally, all of these former provinces that encircle the capital of London, basically. So east on that side.
Gotcha. Because I looked at the map today, and I saw Essex, and I saw Surrey, and I saw West. The other one, Sussex. But I did not see Wessex. And the only reason I'm asking is Wessex was a big time kingdom, before and during the formation of England. So, because it's in all the Viking movies and stuff. So
yes,
I watched. Yeah. I read the books, and I watched The Last Kingdom, which the main character was Uhtred of Bebbanburg, which was a real guy. But they tried to, at least the kings and stuff were historically accurate, like King Alfred of Wessex and stuff like that. So I was just curious about that, because that was a prominent kingdom, I guess, or whatever, on the island before.
Yeah, there's still some links to the monarchy there. So you'll still find a duke and an earl of Wessex, historical figureheads in that. But as a region, it's just generally west of London. Again, trying to sort of place F3 on the map. West of London, there's the Royal County of Berkshire, which is immediately most west, and then sort of goes anywhere up north from that. You go through Hertfordshire, and you have all the shires, if you will, from there on out.
Is that where the hobbits are, in the Shire? I think that's where they are.
Depends which Shire you're speaking about, but yeah, I haven't found them yet. I'm saddened to know that they're actually in New Zealand, but we'll get there.
Touche. Yeah, that's where they filmed Lord of the Rings Dial-Up in New Zealand. That's why he said that.
I got the reference.
Okay. All right. So now you're growing up in Essex. You're becoming a geezer. What happened then?
Yeah. So so always wanted to do something with cars. Loved cars, and again, as per the Essex point, there's something peculiar that's been spiked into the water, because all Essex boys want to sort of modify, fiddle with their cars, tuner cars. I don't know if that's what you call them in the US. And spend too much money on that kind of stuff. So obviously, I was very, very young age. I couldn't drive at that time, but I knew I wanted to do something with cars. So I did reasonably well academically, but I went on to do a qualification known at the time as City and Guilds, like an apprenticeship, where I learned properly how to use spanners or wrenches. And then I sort of embarked on that career, wanting to either be a motor racing driver or possibly work with a motor racing team, traveling the world, all the glitz and glamour. Couple of problems came though. On the driving front, I'm 6'5", and that's quite large for a racing driver. Probably wouldn't fit in most of them. The other thing was I'm not actually that fast in a car, and that's a much bigger problem. So didn't go down that route. Instead, I thought, okay, I'll be on the sort of the tech team. The trouble with that is you've got to know the right people, and you've got to spend really quite a long time making cups of tea and carrying a clipboard and saying yes sir to everything. And I got fed up with that fairly quickly. So I jacked that in just before Christmas. I needed some money, so I spent about 3 months selling timeshare. I don't know if that expression translates in the US. So we
hate those guys.
Well, I didn't like it much either, but I needed the money. But strangely, I've never considered myself to have gift of the gab, but I was actually quite good at it. And after a while, about 3 months through winter, through Christmas, of talking to bored northern housewives, I decided I need to go and get a different job. And I just took a chance going to work for a pharmaceutical company. And that was, I don't know, what was that now? About nearly 20 years ago. And then, so that brought me to work for the NHS, National Health Service, so our public-funded healthcare service in the UK, where I met my Em, and various other things happened, different jobs. We moved around a bit, but we finally bought our first house together in West Sussex, and we've lived here now for 8 years. And that's what brought me in the proximity, in the vicinity of F3 and all that's been ever since.
Cool. Were you into sports at all? Were you athletic at all when you were growing up?
I've always been atrocious at soccer, football. You would have thought I'd have had some skills on the pitch, but absolutely none whatsoever. But no, I had some moderate skills behind the wheel in cars, and I wouldn't say semi-professional, but a little bit better than amateur, let's say, but it never amounted to anything. So no, not so much a whiz with ball sports or anything like that. I'm more of the automotive kind.
What kind of car racing were you doing? What?
It's basically you can get into semi-serious leagues of what they call one make. So you can have it's unsurprisingly one make of car, one type of car. Honda's has always been a thing, Japanese cars. So nothing too serious, but you conform to a series of rules and regulations, and it takes, because the cars are all identical, it takes some of the sort of richer teams doing more things. It comes down to the skill of the driver. But I didn't go too far with it. The closest I got to any kind of recognition was in one type of event. There's a guy, I don't know if he's known in the US, he probably isn't, called Jonathan Palmer. And he runs a race series, and he owns a few circuits. And I very nearly got a podium finish in a race that he was observing when he was looking for talent. But unfortunately, £3 of $5 bearing failed and totaled the engine, and so we got a DNF. And I never got my days of thunder, as it were.
Yeah, Dial-Up, are you jealous? Do you wish you were a race car driver? I know you like racing.
I would love to be a race car driver. Yeah, it just and I grew up around auto racing, but just never. It's expensive, super expensive, and just never really had the financial means to do it. But
yeah, that's why you got to get sponsors.
Yeah, and
that's the name of the game, and it is, as you say, Dial-Up. It's an expensive hobby, which can become a very expensive way of life. And just for where I was in that point in time, I needed more money. and then I could invest in getting anything more serious. So that changed the course. But regret's seldom helpful, is it? I look back fondly on all the car days and all the cruising up and down at 3 o'clock in the morning. I loved all that stuff. And I was laughing with my own the other day when it's warm here in the UK, which does happen occasionally, and you're sleeping with a window open, and I'll hear a car going past at sort of maximum revs and maximum speed. I won't lie, I still smile to myself because I know exactly what that person's doing, and I know where they're going, and I know they're having a good time. And it just kind of reminds me of my youth and my early 20s, let's say.
Dial-Up, did you go cruising when you were in high school?
We would do a little cruising, like up in State College, up at Penn State, but not a lot. No.
Man, with all those co-eds in Penn State, you weren't going down Beaver Avenue. That's really the name of the road, folks. You weren't doing that because that as a high school boy, I think I might have been doing that.
No, we did a little, dude. We would park and just walk around and see them that way.
The problem with parking. Well, when you grew up, it was probably a little bit better, but now parking, you got to pay for it.
Yeah, the parking garage was cheap, and usually there'd be like 4 or 5 of us that would drive up together. Yeah. So until we all split the cost. The big thing in State College was there was an under 21 club. What was the name of it? Players, I think was the name of it. Mm-hmm. It was an under 21 club. So that
you sure it wasn't called Geezers?
No. So yeah, so you didn't have to walk around. You just went to the under 21 club. Right. Players. Pretty sure that was the name of it. Yeah. You went there, and that's where you met them.
Did you try to get any frat parties?
No. I was a good boy.
Well, man, what were you doing? I would have. Oh,
all right. I didn't want to disappoint my mom. I was grew up with my mom raising me. She didn't have a lot of money. My dad was involved too, but mom was my primary custodian, and didn't have a lot of money. Mom worked really, really hard, so I never wanted to disappoint my mom. So I was good. I didn't do the frat party thing like other people that are on this podcast.
Well, God bless you, Dial-Up. You're a good boy. We didn't have frats to speak of where I grew up, so I couldn't even try that. But
you definitely could have got in them though if you wanted to, because I had plenty of high school friends.
My friends and I would have definitely gotten involved with that. Not saying that's the right choice, folks, but Defib was a different guy back then. All right, back to Walter. It's not about Dial-Up and me; it's about Walter. So, when you first posted to your first workout, I know you say you don't know what the heck happened, but how was it for you as far as keeping up physically? I mean, were you in shape at the time, or did you struggle?
I wasn't bad, and being honest, I've never been too far off the radar with fitness. So having height on my side, running, I've always been pretty decent at, and I've done a few marathons in my time, and a few other sort of say endurance events. So I've never been too far off, but at that point in time, like I suspect a lot of people post-COVID, the gym became a pretty soul-destroying place to go. Not only had the prices gone up, but obviously they had to sort of clean and sanitize every half an hour. So trying to get any kind of meaningful workout was it had become pointless, really. So at the point my first post as an FNG, it helps the fact, and you'll come to hear this or see this as and when you chat to Safari. Pretty serious guy in terms of fitness. So I was shown what I believe is a gold standard from the start. And it was all the sort of things you might recognize, burpees, bear crawls, Merkins, all of that kind of stuff. But what I remember most of all was, one of the loveliest guys we have in F3 is a guy called Strings. His F3 name's Strings. His actual name's Alex, obviously. But I wouldn't say I was partnered with him, but I was next to him. He was one of the FNGs on the day. And it was a bear crawl that Safari had called because he was queuing. Not a massive distance, but, a distance enough if you don't do that kind of thing often, you think, oh, wow. And I just recall between Strings and I, we stopped a lot just crossing that car park. And I kind of used that, and I've talked to him a lot since, I used that as the measurement for how far we've all come, in that, we would go up and down that car park now without even stopping. And at the time, it was probably because some numbnuts like me parked his car in the middle of the car park, not knowing where I'm supposed to leave it. But so we bear-crawled round it, but we still stopped many times. And basically, at the end of it, I was physically very tired, very sore, day after DOMS and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it was something that clicked in my mind, possibly even more than it had in my body, that just listening to Safari speak, and there was another, I think you may know the name Homer. Homer's another UK PAX that would definitely count in the him category. He was present as well, and he'd been in F3 I think for about a month or so himself at the time. And just listening to he and Safari speak with just a bit more language and narrative about F3, I thought, do you know what? There's something here that I've been looking for. I didn't know what I was looking for, but body and mind felt sharpened, basically.
Very cool. Now, I know that you're participating in GTEs.
Yeah.
Have you been to America at all?
I have. I've had the privilege of posting at about 20 AOs, and my wife and I, we're trying to do all 50 states, and we've done 30 or 31 now.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what do you think of America? You've seen more of it than we have, probably, if you've gone to 30 states.
I am. You'll forgive the horrendous fanboy response, but I love America. I do. Ever since I was a kid, whether it's New York at one end, Hollywood at the other, everything was just a big show stage. And my wife and I agreed, Ma'am and I agreed that we would try and do all 50 states. And we sort of tried to break it down into chapters. So in 2019, we did West Coast. So we flew in and out of San Francisco, and we did Utah, Arizona, Nevada, California, obviously. all of the cliche stuff that you might do, drive up and down the PCH and see the Golden Gate Bridge and go to Alcatraz. So that was that part. It was everything I wanted it to be in terms of the weather, in terms of, Santa Monica Pier, all of that. It was brilliant. So we said, we've got to do another one. And so that was 29. And then something happened in around March 2020 that put the kibosh on travel. But when we could finally get back to it in 2022, we did a kind of, I just call it the heartlands. That's probably not the right term, but the history, the Civil War kind of thing. So we went in and out of Boston. No, not Boston. I'm lying to you, Chicago. And then we kind of went down, touched a bit of North Carolina. I was actually in Philadelphia on the 4th of July, which was a wonderful time to be a Brit. And I did post for a beatdown. And every exercise was renamed after British things, which was very lovely. And obviously, went up and down the Rocky Steps. And then, so that was our 2022 tour. And then in 23, we did kind of New England, so in and out of Boston, and to New Jersey. And I recognised some similarities, but just to try and get a bit of the Irish impact on the US and a little bit of the Italian as well. And I've been to New York separately, but that was for different reasons. So yeah, long story short, I've been to America a fair bit. I do love it, and I can't wait to go back.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I had no idea that you had been there at all, so that was pretty neat. I'm glad I asked that. Of all the places you went, if you were to come to America and move here and live somewhere, based on your experience, where would that be?
Probably predictable, but I could see myself living in California, just because of the climate. Whether I could afford to live in California is a different question, obviously. But weirdly, if I had to live or work in a city, and it wasn't one that I expected to enjoy as much as I did, and it may raise an eyebrow with you, Washington, DC. I for some reason I felt very comfortable there. I enjoyed it, and obviously former president was in the White House then, but it was just, I don't know. I don't know why. I had no expectations for it, and it just left a really nice feeling. So those two places stand out to me, I guess.
Yeah, cool. He may have been in the White House, but he may not have known he was in the White House. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, folks. It's just a joke.
He always has to throw a political jab in at some point.
Just a joke. Yeah.
It's a chance.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, when you were in California, did you go to like Yosemite, or are you hitting any of the national parks?
Yeah, no. We went to Yosemite. We did that. So we obviously, a lot of it was done down on the coast. I managed to get a track day in at my favourite circuit, Laguna Seca. where we hired a Miata. MX-5 we call it, and yeah, that's Monterey. So that was a pretty special day. Carmel.
Did you like the corkscrew?
Yeah, and it is so much taller or steeper than I thought it would be. I played it on a dozen games, but yeah, in real life, incredible circuit, brilliant day out. Probably one of the best track days I've done.
Well, very cool, man. DC has come a long way. When we were younger, DC was a bad place. It was at one point the first or second highest murder per capita rate in the country, but they cleaned it up. And it became a place where young adults, young professionals would go there. And along with that came all the cool stuff, which was, neat restaurants and bars and, different places to gather. And they kind of cleaned up the city a little bit. It still has some issues, as every city does. But yeah, DC is a pretty cool place to visit sometimes. I think the only time, whenever I've gone there, I've gone to just tour the museums at the Smithsonian and the National Mall and things like that. So and my son and I did that, just a guy's trip a few years ago, and that was really cool. So yeah, I'm not too surprised that you would say DC.
No, I must have. You have to understand the incredibly pedantic level of planning that we put into these trips. So all the food challenges, watching Man versus Food and all that. So I knew about my half smoke at Ben's Chili Bowl before I even got there. But it just every film, even there actually, it's The Exorcist. The scene at the end, I think, when with the steps, we went to visit that, obviously, and it's so many places, so many cities, and across the different states we saw, just like, oh, that's in that film or whatever. It was, yeah. I'm getting goosebumps. I've got to go back. I miss it.
What's next? Where do you want to visit next?
In the US, you mean? Got to do a bit more of the South. I have it on good reputation that Texas, as a state, has quite a lot of F3 presence, and that's where Safari found it. And the story he tells of some of the things that have gone. I think that's Katy, so just outside of Houston.
Right. Yep.
So we're going to do the southern states. But my wife is desperate to visit New Orleans and Louisiana and that part of history as well. So we'll definitely get some southern states in. And embarrassingly, I've never been to Florida, so we got to get over there as well.
Yeah, all very cool places, man. I've been to Texas, but I haven't been to Houston or Katy area. I was to San Antonio and outside of Dallas. I've been to New Orleans. New Orleans is a nice place to visit. I wouldn't want to live there. I lived in Florida a little bit, so all really cool places, man. I would suggest to you the Sun Coast. Dial-Up was just there recently in Clearwater, but Clearwater, Tampa Bay, Sarasota, that's just most beautiful beaches in the world. And it's, right here in America. It's pretty cool. A lot of traffic though, so get ready to get congested traffic.
Well, yeah, again, I mean, the UK has some problems in that regard, but yeah, we did mistime some downtown LA traffic, and I think that was half the holiday, to be perfectly honest. We spent on, is it 405? I can't remember. There's one highway, a freeway that's bad. But I mustn't forget also that I really enjoyed NASCAR, and I think there's nowhere finer to see it or observe it than I don't know if it's between North or South Carolina. So I've definitely got to get there as well. So again, in fact, we drove past where did we go? I think it's Boone in North Carolina.
Yeah.
I did manage to post theirs in the mountains.
Yeah.
So which is good.
Appalachian State University, baby.
Yeah. And you said NASCAR. If I could recommend anything to you, I'm a big NASCAR fan. If you could get to the Bristol night race in Bristol, Tennessee.
Tennessee. Okay. Yeah.
Bristol, Tennessee, you will be blown away walking into that stadium. It's one of those places to you experience walking into a racetrack with a little half-mile oval, and the place seats 168,000 people.
Wow.
Like you just, it's mind-blowing when you walk in there for the first time. And then just, under the lights, small little track, short track racing. If you were to try and get any NASCAR race visiting the United States, that's the one I'd recommend.
Bristol and Tennessee, right?
Bristol, Tennessee, yep. And if you could go specifically to the night race, it's usually in the fall, like in August or so, somewhere in that neck of the woods.
Perfect. Recommendation taken. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for Dial to take me. He hasn't taken me yet.
We'll go to Daytona next year. I want to go to. I've never been to Daytona. It's a big track. It's not a great track to watch a race out, but I just want to go just because it's the granddaddy of them all for NASCAR. So
yeah, well,
maybe
the
next
people
year.
that we cruise with, the Lampkins, Dan, he's a big NASCAR fan, and they like to go to Daytona. So
All right.
if
Maybe
I
next year
happen
we'll
to be
go.
able to go with you, yeah, we'll hook up with Dan and his boys, and we can go to Daytona. I'll go to the beach. You guys watch them drive in circles. That's fine. Well, you know, and in Florida, by the way, not to give another shout out to the Suncoast, but there's a very vibrant F3 group there called F3 Suncoast in Sarasota area, and so those guys they really get after it down there, and they have some good numbers and stuff. So in case you head that way, of course you'll look it up if you do, but that would be pretty cool.
No, we would. The problem, quote unquote, is that there's quite a lot of America to see.
Yeah.
In my ignorance, when I was first putting these trips together, I thought, oh, in 3 weeks, you know, we had to go west to east. No.
Yeah.
Not if you want to see anything. So even, I mean, we spent the 3 weeks going around New England, which was fantastic. And there's, you know, the Forrest Gump Lighthouse, and so I managed to post at F3 at the Harvard Stadium in Boston, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
And went to what's the Vermont, so I think it's Mount Washington. There's so you've got too much good stuff over there, so I need about 3 years to come and see it.
Yeah,
it is vast. We span a continent, and it's diverse, right? Not only in geography, topography, weather, but in people. You know, it's like just certain little niches of cultures around the country too. Kind of cool. Yeah, you've seen Dial-Up. He's definitely seen a lot more of America than I have. So if I need to make a trip, I plan a trip in somewhere in America, I'm going to call Walter here and find out where I should go.
I've traveled a lot. I think he's hit all the major areas that I've hit. We're in the mid 30s for states, I think, ourselves, but I haven't counted for a while. But we still got a few to knock off our list.
Right. Defib, did I hear you said to Sticks you're coming to the cruise, aren't you? You living from the UK?
Yeah, we haven't finalized that plan. It's either that or Banff in Canada. So my wife ends up deciding all these things. I just say, yeah, I like that or I like that. And so we'll see. One of the options is to cruise. The one cruise goes from Southampton and it hits some spots in Spain and Portugal and then back to Southampton. But we would have a few days after that to kind of tour England. So that's
I'd love to be of service if you need anything. Southampton's not too far away. So.
Okay. Well, thanks, brother. I may take you up on that if we do that.
Please.
Yeah. All right. Tell us about your experience with the GTE. You know what you're.
So I think Sticks talked about this as well. So GTE 42 was our first one in October 2023. A fleet of US car trainer came over to support it. I think I speak on behalf of most of the packs present over the Crucible that what we expected was very different to what we got. It was way harder. And there was one particular section involving a seemingly never-ending torrent of like fire hose water from the local fire department, and it was very cold. It was down to freezing, and that happened really early in the night. And you kind of at that moment, forgive my horrendous language, I don't know if it's a family show, but when stuff got real, let's say at that point. And then it was such a fantastic growth experience. Rucking in general, you know, I appreciate it as a form of fitness, but when there's a real shared struggle, it takes on a whole new dimension. And I learned so much from Italian Job and Canine. They were our trainers for that weekend, so the growth school part really spoke to me. And then I knew I had to do another one. And then when we last year had the opportunity the UK hosted GT 55. I sort of in a coordinated effort between Linus, so obviously Freedom Ops these days, and the aforementioned Homer. I put myself forward for both the host queue role and also for a trainer role. And you know, through doing the various things you need to do, I'm proud to say I am a trainer. I have been a trainer. I was a trainer at GT 55, and I was able to sort of help bring some language and maybe some leadership to the mind over the weekend for the packs that were struggling in their own ways and wanted to grow in others. So yeah, they're both those GTEs have been very, very valuable, for want of a better expression.
Yeah, cool, man. It must be hard to get under the log when you're 6'5", because you're definitely not going to be able to rest.
I didn't even think of that, but yeah, holy cow, you're bearing a lot of weight because there's no escaping it.
It was. I'm in reasonably good shape, so I'd get under the log for my part of it, really sort of shove your shoulder into it, and I'd watch it go like, I don't know, 3 inches clear of the man in front, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh dear, this is. And then they're all wondering what they're supposed to do now. So meanwhile, I'm sort of stooping down. It did not work at all. We had something of a system where tall guys were at the back and the more modestly statured guys were at the front, but in reality, there were only 2 other people I could swap with who were broadly my height, and it was painful.
Yeah, I can imagine. All right, well, you went through different leadership positions. You're currently the Nantan of your region. How many AOs do you have in your region?
6. Just launched our 6th last month. So yeah, Surrey and Sussex obviously spans those 2 counties, but it includes I guess what you call the UK mothership, which is an AO called the Way in Guildford. And then from each one sequentially given birth to the next one. And our most recent plant is one called the Highway, on account that it's next to a highway. But we tried to make it sound a bit sexier than that. And yeah, that got going in February. And yeah, we had an FNG before we even had a name, which I was chuffed about. So yeah, 6 at the moment, and good strong core of regulars, very engaged in F3 activities.
Yeah, that's cool, man. What have some of the challenges been for you as a Nantan?
Not doing everything would be the largest one, I would say. I don't know if you chaps are familiar with the term insights or insights color energies, color profiling, that kind of thing. But it's if you've not heard of it, it's sort of based on Myers-Briggs sort of personalities. And the reason why I mentioned that is obviously Safari was the sole and the only Nantan for the UK for a long time, and then he between us we sort of made the decision, and he took the plunge and divided up into 3 regions, and yours truly embraced Surrey and Sussex. He has a very, very, what Insights calls a very red, very direct leadership style. You know, he doesn't get bogged down in details, he just does stuff. For me, I love being spontaneous as long as I know everything about it in advance. So I like all details. I like everything planned. I like my T's crossed and my I's dotted. And the trouble is, I am one person. I have the same 24 hours in the day as everyone else, wanting to sort of be all over everything, see everything, make sure everyone's okay, understand everything. It just isn't possible, and that's been it's not done. It's still a learning experience for me now. But Safari's leadership, for example, got F3 from Texas into the UK. If it was up to me at that point, I'd still be sitting there spinning my chair thinking, what do I do here? Whereas maybe now F3's journey's 3-4 years old in the UK, maybe there is a time for maybe my considered type of leadership, but I have to trust that others we have, mutual competence and shared virtue and all of that good stuff, and trust.
What was the term you used for the different leadership styles, the assessments that you do? What's it called?
Insights is the term I used.
Insights. Okay. We a common tool in the States it's called a DISC assessment.
Yeah, it's an evolution of that.
It sounds like it's exactly the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. If you get a chance, read a book called Surrounded by Idiots. It's a good one to read on the train and with people either side of you. But it gives some sort of structure to how the 4 different color energies are perceived and how they're likely to show up on a good day and a bad day. It's very similar to DISC.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of people could probably write that book. All right. So sounds like you had to learn the lesson of delegation, like, kind of give up control, and that's a great lesson in leadership, I think.
Yeah, it's been a very, very powerful one, because earlier in life, I have found it difficult to overcome, anxiety and things, and low self-esteem was something that I really struggled with in my 20s and 30s. And the trouble with those two things is that they almost always play out into desiring a high level of control, safety, if you will, and it's just I'm becoming so much better and so much aware now that others' efforts are often succeed mine, and that's okay and that's comfortable. And I have to have faith in myself to have faith in them, and it's not always the easiest thing.
Yeah, that's pretty wise, man. It's hard even showing up for a beatdown when you're not the cue, right? It must be hard for guys that struggle with control. What kind of chaos am I getting myself into? Especially if the cue doesn't share the beatdown ahead of time, which I don't do anymore. I started doing that. I stopped pretty early because I don't want guys thinking I'm not going to go there because that sounds too hard or that doesn't sound interesting to me. I just want them to show up and be, and it's part of the leadership training process, which you've just described. Get some experience immersing yourself in a little pain and chaos because you don't know what's coming next.
Yeah, even is a good example. Even we had an AO planted in the Berkshire region that has since gone on to spawn another AO, and the Nantam for that region is a F3 Pax called Crampon, and he does things very differently to me. And every time I sort of see how he does it, I can think, oh yeah, I almost want to micromanage and meddle with it, but he's doing it in his way, and it's not better, it's not worse, it's his version of leadership, and it's for me to become comfortable with it, not to suppress anything that he's done.
Yeah. I think the next step is preparing the next Nantan. That'll be hard for you too, to give up that kind of control and watch the next guy take your baby that you kind of ushered along for a while and do something different with it. All right, there's Dial-Up's dinner bell. You won't hear it on the podcast.
It's funny, yeah, it does that once in a while, but we don't hear it when it's on the actual recording.
It doesn't come across the recording. Anyway.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry.
So I have one more question for you before we ask you the last two, unless Dial-Up has any further. Dial-Up, you got anything for him right now?
No, I got all mine in, I think, so far.
All right. So you see the American flag behind me. It's not a rule. It's not a core principle. But at F3 in America, we usually plant a flag. When we start a new AO, it's called planting the shovel flag here or there. Do you guys use a British flag at your AOs?
We do indeed. The flag is a very hot topic at the moment, more than anything. So all of the AOs that I've been involved in planting and all the AOs that I visit fly two flags. So they fly an AO flag, which is a design personal to that AO, and they also fly the Union flag. And of late, there has been discussion, certainly in the Surrey and Sussex region, about, let's say, the optics of the flag. I appreciate this possibly wouldn't translate in the US, but in the UK, the Union flag can sometimes have a kind of perception about it, and some of the packs are they feel a certain way about it. For me, the place I've had to become comfortable with as we plant more AOs is I need to empower leaders to be leaders, not to tell and micromanage. So although I would proudly fly the flag, and I do, if there's an AO for which the packs feel uncomfortable flying it, then don't fly it. If you're observing the 5 core principles and your reason for not flying it isn't in a hindrance to the planting, growth and service as per the mission, then I've got to be okay with that. That's one such example. But yes, to answer your question, 3 UK AOs do fly the Union flag with pride.
All right. I got test messages from our next guest. I just got to answer him real quick. But, in America, the American flag for some people there's similar issues. I don't know if there's a region or AO out there, maybe somewhere out in the West, in La La Land or wherever out there that doesn't, but we fly the flag, proudly. It doesn't mean that America does everything right all the time. It just, but the principles for which it stands is what we stand behind. And, that a lot of those came from England. A lot of the principles our government's founded on and everything came from England. And And so, and they're all very good. So whatever. There's my little pitch for the flag. But yeah, I don't know what you guys are. Oh my gosh, it's everything I'm saying is recording in the text message. I was about to say. Well, I got to.
God bless Siri.
Yeah.
You want to keep talking and I can answer him?
Yeah, go ahead. Anyway, I was curious because, you know, we fly the flag and all that stuff. It's not, like I said, and like you said, it's not one of the core principles. So you don't have to have a flag, and you don't want to, we're open to all men. So, you know, and there's a discussion to be had about how much we need to do to be deterring other men to show up. But, you know, whatever. As long as you're not flying an EU flag, man, you got to remain England. Come on.
Well, that is a stone we won't turn over on this one. But to your point though, seriously, the F3 in the UK is actually quite diverse. A great number of our packs were not born on this land, so you know they're going to have a different feeling about it. You say you spoke with Styx, and the South African contingent in the UK is massive. I often wonder at 1AO if it's. I think it's F3 is a South African organisation with a few Brits along for the ride, but it's wonderful. So yeah, your question's a good one. The flag means different things to different people, but the optics is always something we do discuss this a lot about. You know, we know how we drink the Kool-Aid, so we know how wonderful F3 is, but what does it look like to others? It's something to at least be conscious of, even if we don't alter what we're doing, you know.
Great point, brother. All right, I got two more questions for you. 2 questions we ask all of our guests.
Yeah.
And then we'll get you out of here with that. So the first one is, if you were to choose somebody who's somebody you look up to, a hero or whatever, it could be somebody from the distant past. I know you're from England, but it could be Robin Hood or Sir Walter Raleigh. Whoever you want to choose, who would that be?
Actually, I think I'm going to bridge both of our great countries. Simon Sinek, who I believe is British-born American or American-born British.
He's from the TED Talks guy on leadership, right?
TED Talks guy on leadership. Yeah. So just as he's got a car reference in there. Just as all sports coupes are measured against the BMW M3. For me, all leaders, you know, sort of TED Talk leaders, public speakers in that thing, I believe they're all measured to Simon Sinek. So there's a truth in what he says. Again, I wouldn't say I agree with everything he says, but he has a way, you know, on the written page and also in the way he commands an audience. I think he gets leadership in a way that I believe, and it actually aligns very well with you know, similar beliefs and things I recognise in F3 as well. So I would say he's a living inspiration to me in the terms of how he recognises the value of leaders and leadership, and he also the way he cuts down what he perceives leadership is not.
Oh, very good. That's the first time somebody's picked him. I listened and watched a couple times his one TED Talk talking about the why. After people need to know the why of what they're doing, and that really spoke to me. So, yeah, all right, man. Last question is: this is your chance to speak to the men listening out there. We usually say men in America, but you're from England, so the men of the world. What do you have to say to all the men out there?
Don't wait for someone else. I think the world is very, very full of consumers. It's less full of creators. And I think it's very, very common to say in almost every situation, oh, well, wouldn't it be great if someone did this? Or wouldn't it be great if this thing happened? Or anyone could be that someone. So I think if you see a need and whatever it might be, and you have means to reach it, don't change the narrative from it will be great when this happens to, you know, how can we make that happen? So I guess that's that's the closest thing I can get to a motivational quote, maybe.
Yeah, it's good, man. Thank you. Appreciate that. And thanks for your time. I mean, you know, Dial-Up, you know, here we got this guy. He's a purse dancing geezer from Essex who frustrated race car driver, American lover, log carrying, 6'5", high impact man that we just spoke to.
Yeah, how about it? This was a gem of a podcast. I've enjoyed this one immensely. I enjoy them all, but this was really good.
Likewise, I can tell you this now. At the end, I was nervous as hell talking to you, but it's been really good. So.
Well, you first of all, you didn't need to be. Secondly, you didn't come across that way at all, and
not at all.
high praise from Dial-Up. I concur. It was a good episode, brother. It was great to hear from you. Maybe I'll look you up, if we come over there and do this cruise. My wife usually doesn't decide to almost last minute, so I never know what I'm doing.
And when I get stateside again, I will come and find you and hopefully see you in the actual gloom, the real gloom.
Yeah, brother. F3 Susquehanna Valley.
If you're ever in the Pennsylvania neck of the woods, let us know. Try and find you.
Yeah, even if you're not near us in Pennsylvania or somewhere nearby, maybe we could travel to wherever you're going and hang out with you a little bit.
Well, Slack is. I'm not very good on Slack, but I know my way around the downranges bit, and it's been helpful for finding all the other AOs when we've been traveling the US.
Yeah, man, and you got me on WhatsApp now.
Love it. Thank you so much for giving me this chance.
Yeah. Well, God bless you, brother. Give our best to all the men over there in your neck of the woods, and tell everyone to tune in to the High Impact Man, because now we got Sticks and you, and we excuse me, we hope to get a few more guys from across the pond. Thanks a lot, brother.
Perfect. Yeah. Cheers, chaps.
All right, stay on for a little bit after we end here, because we got to make sure your part of this has downloaded completely.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. I would like to thank our guests for joining us and sharing their story of becoming a high-impact man. More information and resources can be found at highimpactman.com. If you like this podcast, please consider following us on our social media pages or email us at him@highimpactman.com. That is HIM@highimpactman.com. The High Impact Man podcast has a new episode every week, and you can find them on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Google Podcast platforms. Have a great week, everyone.